Alright, today I'm hopefully fixing a long-term issue with my Peugeot. So since I've owned the car, when you start it, it sounds starts a bit rough, and a bit like glow plugs on their way out. So replace the glow plugs, helped a bit. Wasn't entirely happy with it, and then all of a sudden, over a period of a few weeks, it started to not want to start from cold. Once it started, it runs absolutely fine. So my current starting sequence is this. And then there's a lot of smoke. So I initially thought it was fuel pump, so the car's been sat on the driveway for a while. Then I read an article online, someone who had similar things, faulty glow plug like symptoms, and had to start with easy start or brake cleaner for like 2 years before they finally got it diagnosed, and it turned out it was injectors. So I've bought myself 4 new nozzles. I've got 4 new heat shield washers. I've also bought an injector tester kit. So I'm going to pull the injectors out, we're going to test them, pull them apart, replace the nozzles, test them again, see what improves, chuck them back in, and fingers crossed, it's £90 well spent. I get into the injectors on this is pretty straightforward. It's, this rubber thing off, intercooler off, and then it's pretty much accessible. So I've got leak-off pipes, and then the metal pipes, crack them off from the fuel pump so they've got a bit of wiggle room, undo them from the injector, and then it's just a case of unscrewing the injector, which requires a special socket. In my case, I think it's 28mm. Right, so everything is now moved out of the way. I've managed to undo the injector pipes from the injector. There's a lot of bend in them, so what we're going to do is put a 27mm socket on. There we go. And then I need a long ratchet or a breaker bar. If I can sit you in there. Oh, that is tight. Oops. And then that is our injector. So the nozzle at the bottom of this one, you can see is carboned up. I'm going to go through, get them all out, compare them all, and then we'll go through the whole process. But that's pretty carboned up, and apparently that is part of the problem. So let's get the others out, and then we'll bench test them. Alright, now before we test the injectors, I just want to show you there's some copper washers. It shows you where they are, just there. And I don't know if I can really show you. I'll try and zoom in on the video, but that's number one, what they call a heat shield in the bottom there. Number 2 there, you can see looks quite a bit different. And one of these I've already taken out, actually. I've taken out number 4. And number 3 there. So there's definitely issues. You can see how big the hole is in the middle of number 1. There's definitely issues there, which obviously we will be resolving. I have set up my injector test kit, and just wondering if I can prop you somewhere so you can see the spray pattern. Right, so if I then pump this, build up some pressure. That looks to me like a pretty good spray pattern, so let's try the other 3. Okay, so as you saw, the last one, number 4, gave hardly any spray pattern. I don't know if you can see on there, but that is incredibly worn, that nozzle. Try and get to a point where you can see it. There's a huge lip on the end of that, and compare that to if I hold two of them together. So it's very hard to see, but this nozzle here is definitely sort of eroded, worn away. This one, which is number 3, carboned up, but it's not too bad. So we're going to change these nozzles. So the first thing I need to do is pull the injectors apart. I'm going to do these one by one. I've never done this before, but we're going to do this one by one, pull them out, and let's see what we find. So we've pulled out the injector. The way I did it, try it with this one. Upside down in the vise, and then your 27 mil socket that you did to undo these injectors, you can put on upside down, and then a big old bar, crack it round, and then the bottom unscrews. Now when you take it out, when you pull it apart, make sure it is the correct way up, the injector is the correct way up, because that's how everything sits in the base, that way. So, going through the parts, we've got obviously the base of the injector, then you've got the nozzle. Now, what I want to try and show you is, I doubt you're going to see, if I hold it up against there, in the very bottom of this injector there is a little needle, a little pin, and I am moving it in and out. I don't think the video is going to show it. Oh, you can just about see it there, going in and out. This one, you cannot see it. I'm going in and out. There is absolutely no way you can see it. There's so much carbon on the bottom of this one. This is again number 4 injector. I thought I'd start with the worst one. Once you got there, you've then got this spacer that sits on top of the nozzle, spring seat that goes in there like so, and then the spring, and on top of the spring, I haven't taken it off, there's a washer. That spacer you can use to adjust the opening pressure, which you measure here. Ours were miraculously almost exactly the same, pretty much. So I'm not going to mess around with respacing it or anything like that. And then you got your top bit, and yeah, that is basically your injector. So we don't need that. We're going to put that one in, rebuild this, rebuild them, chuck them back in the car. Look at my nice shiny nozzles and my really manky ones. As you can see, number 1 and number 3 also had lots and lots of burny bits on it. Not good. So before we put these back in the car, I want to retest these just to make sure that the pressures are pretty much the same and that none of them are, I don't know, not working. Once I've done that, I'm going to go and clean up the engine, drop these back in, torque them up. The torque settings for these particular ones are 90 Newton meters. When you do these up, there is a torque setting as well, 70 Newton meters for doing the ends up. One thing I didn't mention before, the little the tapered section that sits on top of the nozzle, the top surface of that, got to check that, make sure that's nice and clean, because that is what meets up with the main body of the injector. So make sure that's clean. If you need to rub it down, just give it a decent surface. A bit of Scotch-Brite or some really fine emery paper is all you need. Just make sure it's flat. Make sure you do it on a flat surface. But yeah, these are my reconditioned, rebuilt, re-nozzled injectors. Let's see what happens when I put them back in. Okay, so I've put all the copper washers back in, everything's been cleaned out, bit of brake cleaner in there, and then blow it out with an airline once you've got all of the chunks out. The holes are supposed to be quite open, as you can see now, not those little tiny pinholes we had before. Again, make a huge difference. Now the next step is pretty tricky, so I was going to share my top tip. These are what they call a heat shield. The old ones are over there. I've taken them out and put them the same way they came out, so they are they go that way round. So that's the bottom, and the domed bit, if you like, on top. So my top tip, get yourself a little pick, preferably one with a hook, it's a lot easier, and put it on so that hook end at the bottom is the bottom, so as if you're putting that in the hole. That's essentially what you're going to do. Hold the washer at the top here, put the, let's do it on number 2, I think it'll be easier for you to see maybe. Put the hook in the bottom, and then once it hits the bottom, let go, and then you can just move the hook around so that the washer, heat shield, whatever you want to call it, sits nicely in the bottom of the hole. And I'm going to do that with the other 3 without losing one. Alright, next step, injectors in. I've left these in order, but I don't think they really matter what order they go in. So I'm just good, but it's good habit. I think they do matter on more modern common rail injectors. So I'm going to do these up as far as I can by hand first. And then I'm going to go over with the torque wrench. Like I said, 90 Newton meters, same as the wheels in fact. So yeah, 90 Newton meters all the way along. These pipes might be a bit tricky to bend back on and get on. Just make sure you don't cross thread them, tighten them up, put everything else back together. Okay, leak off pipes are all on, injector pipes are all on, all the hoses back together apart from the intercooler. Now I'm going to remove all this lot. I'm going to try and start the car just so that I can check for leaks before putting all this back on, because it'll make life a little bit easier. That's if it does decide to start. Just wondering if I might try a bit of easy start just to make sure. Alright, let's give her a bit of a squirt. Don't know which one it is, so we'll do both. Let's see what happens. Nerve-wracking time, ladies and gentlemen. That was the easy start. Let's try without. Oh, nearly. There we go. Okay, she's clearly quite not happy running with that. Was with throttle, we might add. Okay, there's something she's not happy about. The fact that was with throttle means we should be able to see if there's any leaks, but all the injectors are bone dry, so I'm pretty happy with that. Yeah, let's get everything else back together and yeah, possibly see what we were missing. Right, well, all I did was put the intercooler back on, gave her a little squirt of easy start, and she started. So let's just check for leaks again. There's no chuffing, which is a good sign. Yeah, we're looking alright as far as fluid leaks are concerned. So, right, all I want to do now is just turn it off and make sure she starts alright. Alright, please start. Yes! Well, I have no idea if she's going to start alright from cold, so time will tell. But yeah, throttle response is pucker, really. That is so much better than it was before. I don't want to run this too long in here actually, because she's running on engine oil at the moment, so a bit smoky. Obviously I don't know if the fuel that I run her on was a contribution to well, the carbon build-up, and that I know that it's smoky over here. I know that the starting issue was there when I got the car. I replaced the glow plugs in a previous video, which helped but didn't completely fix it. But these nozzles, especially the number 4 one, yeah, they've had it. This number 4 one, actually, I was going to say earlier on, which I didn't, it sticks. It's not smooth, like actually you can see it, but yeah, it's not very smooth at all. The others were smooth, but just didn't look very good. If you haven't done so already, please do subscribe. I've got other cars which you can see on the channel. Like the video if you made it this far, and I'll see you next time.